You're listening to Homeschool Unrefined. I'm Maren.
And I'm Angela. Let's encourage each other, laugh, and get real about homeschool.
Welcome to the podcast where we keep homeschool simple, real, and fun. You've got episode 80, Nature Series, How to Raise a Wild Child, chapters 3 through 5.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Homeschool Unrefined. We're so glad to be back for another week. We are going to be here all summer. We're going to be doing this nature series where we're talking about the book, How to Raise a Wild Child. We're going to be doing that every other week. And then on the other weeks, we're going to just talk about how it's going for us in summer, what's going well.
Yeah, little summer mode series.
Yep, what's going well, what we need to tweak, and we're going to do a little self-care check-in. And so that is going to be on the other weeks. So you can look forward to seeing us here every week. And we wanted to say a special hello to our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. We are grateful for you. If you are interested in being a Patreon supporter and getting an extra episode each month, you can go to patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined.
Yeah, we love connecting with those Patreon supporters. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So our episodes for Patreon are just for our supporters. And we go a little bit more in depth. They are great episodes. We just released one about food and just like our relationship with food and what we're eating now these days. And it was a good conversation, wasn't it, Angela?
Yes. We talked about kind of our like food journey. And then we got into detail.
We all have one.
We got into detail about what we're eating. So we just released that one. So if you were interested in becoming a supporter, you could listen to that episode. And then also we had a couple episodes about marriage, which we loved recording.
And I think those were hits. And I think because a lot of people don't talk about marriage.
Yeah. We kind of got real.
For real. Yeah, exactly. And so it was very freeing to hear some of those things, I think, for some people. And it was very good for us to talk about them. So if you support us at the $3 level, you'll get all those episodes.
So Maren, I thought I would ask, because I haven't really talked to you. How was your weekend? I know you had a big weekend.
Yeah, it was a big weekend. It's kind of a big weekend. We went up to northern Minnesota.
Again. But different north.
Again, a different place in northern Minnesota. Yeah. I mean, if you're from Minnesota, you know, this is like where Minnesotans go in the summer.
North.
They go to northern Minnesota.
But when you were talking before about going north, that was like northwest. This is like northeast.
We're right on Lake Superior.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and we actually went up quite a ways north up to, it was almost Canada.
Yeah.
Grand Marais. This little tiny town. But it has so much character and a lot of it's a tourist destination for sure. But it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And so much fun.
Yeah. And what did you do there?
Well, I mean, we centered our trip around the fact that I was playing with the band that I'm in with my friend Jessa, who plays. We do the intro song to this podcast, right? So Gambler's Daughter is the name of the band. And so we had a gig up in Grand Marais this weekend.
Yeah, exciting. How did it go?
It was fun.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, I probably wouldn't have normally done that, traveled that far for a gig, except that we could make a family trip out of it. It was really an excuse to go up to northern Minnesota.
Right.
Which is so beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
But, the sun is, I feel like is it a big difference?
I think it's a big difference.
The sun rises.
Like, it rises earlier there. I need to check that out.
I got to check that out too. But it seemed like I woke up at 4:30 a.m. the first morning and it looked like midday to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, you were up north too.
We were up north, kind of in the same area as you. We were camping. So,
which is amazing.
Well, so Jeremy really thinks it's important for us to go tent camping once a year, which, I agree in theory that we should do that once a year.
In theory.
We used to have a camper when our kids were really little, and we would go camping a lot.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. I loved camper camping. But then we decided, no, once our kids are old enough, we're going to be doing tent camping. Well, we haven't really done it that much because it's so much work.
Right.
And a lot depends on the weather, and it's so much work.
It is.
So anyway, this was our big trip planned,
and especially if you go once a year, it's
more work.
Yeah, you have to get you have to get so much work done just for one, for
I know.
one trip.
We pulled the tent out like 2 weeks early and put it up, and then realized one of the stakes was broken. Had to order a replacement kit because we're like, oh no, what do we do? We can't buy a new tent. No. I guess we'll see if there's a replacement. And then it's not the exact right fit, so he had to like kind of make it work.
Jimmy it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So we had to do that and just restock our supplies. And I tried not to stress about it, but yeah.
Did you sleep on mattresses?
Yeah, we had to buy an air mattress because we had an air mattress, but
this is getting expensive too. I know, that's the thing with camping.
It popped too. I don't know, a year or two ago, and we moved, and then we were like, "Where's our air mattress? Oh, we don't have one."
Oh yeah, and
I am not sleeping on the ground, so I had to buy an air mattress. The kids have those little camping pads, which is good enough for them.
Yep.
So it was really great. It's beautiful. I was, so glad that we were there.
Yes.
We saw a lot of beautiful things, did some great hiking, but the overnight temperature was so cold. It got to 48 degrees, and I was not prepared for that.
Yeah.
Because that's way colder than it gets here. I mean, it was beautiful during the day. It was like 75 or 80 or whatever. And then overnight it was
it really?
I think so, or 70.
Well, you were there one day earlier than us too. But when we were up north, the high temperature was 55 degrees. High. So.
Well, we came from Duluth that first day, so maybe it was warmer there. And then when we got up north, I don't know. I just wasn't prepared. And right. So I wore all my clothes.
Yep.
Put on all the blankets.
Yep.
I brought lots of blankets and everything. And I still if one part of my body is cold, I cannot sleep.
No,
and it was my nose. And there's nothing you can do about your nose except cover your hand with it or something. I mean, you can't
breathe. Yeah. Try and breathe.
I know, but it's only temporary. And then it would go to cold again.
Yeah.
So we did not sleep at all.
Oh no.
At all. Yeah. So then the next day, of course, that morning I went to the bathroom. Like you, it was bright at 4.
Yep.
And I hadn't slept. And so I was I laid there for what I thought was a long time. And I knew Jeremy was up too. And so I turned to him and I was like, "What time is it?" And he was like, "You don't want to know." And I was thinking, well, I thought it was 8, so it's probably 7. So just be prepared, it's probably 7. And then he was like, "It's 5:20."
Oh.
And I was like, ouch. What? It's been bright for so long.
Okay, so then at that point where you're like, how much longer do we have to stay here?
Then I got up and went to the bathroom, and this other mom followed me in there, and she looked about like I did. And we went to the bathroom, and then we were washing our hands, and I was like, "So how'd you sleep?" And she's like, "Not a wink." I was like, "Me either."
Fun family time.
Oh gosh.
I know.
So then I was like, I am not doing that again another night. So we had planned to camp another night, but I was like, no, it's not going to happen. I'm not. Yeah. I got to get some sleep. So we hiked a little bit for that day, and then we went home.
Yeah.
We cut it a little short, but that's okay.
That's okay.
It was still great.
One night, I feel like is plenty.
Yeah.
You get the experience. You get the idea.
It's plenty. I know. The only problem is I do want to be up there. I do want to go hiking and see all the beautiful sights, and I want to do that. So I feel like maybe we should just stay in a hotel or
or that's where I feel like you should get the camper cabins, which is what we usually do. It is the best of both worlds.
It is.
So great. Yeah,
I know.
Because you get electric heat.
I know. I tried to tell Jeremy that, and he's such a, he's an Enneagram 1, so, he wants the experience to be
ideal.
He wants it to be a perfect experience, and so
right.
I'm like, I think we should use the camper cabins, and he says we can do that, but we're also going to go tenting once a year.
Yeah, right.
It's really important to me.
Can he just take the kids out tenting?
I know. Oh gosh, I know. People do lots of tenting, and it's fun. I mean, when I was a kid, that's what we did.
Yeah,
and vacations.
Oh yeah,
and my parents slept on the hard ground.
We did too. Yeah, can't believe it.
I know. What were they thinking?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so we are recovering.
Yes, we did. We had to recover, and we weren't even camping. We weren't camping.
It's like a 4-hour drive for you, or more.
Oh, 5. Yeah, more than that. It was about. It was about 5 hours.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, let's move on to our book talk.
Yes.
But I
think that was good to talk about though, because it kind of does. We can just very easily transition into talking about nature.
Yeah.
Right.
I could have done a better transition there. That was perfect. It was set up perfect. We were talking about camping, and I blew it. I'm sorry.
You know what? It's only our 80th show. We have time.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Okay, so we are talking about the second section, which is chapters 3 through 5. So we're breaking this up into 4 different episodes, and there's 4 different sections in the book. And you can see in the table of contents, if you have the book, what the sections are. But basically, this is chapters 3 through 5. Next week, we're going to talk about the third section, which is 6 through 8.
In 2 weeks, actually.
Oh, yeah, in 2 weeks. I'm sorry. And then the last one is going to be chapters 9 and 10.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I thought we could start off with chapter 3. There was a great quote at the beginning that I loved that I just wanted to read for everybody. It's from E.O. Wilson. Never heard of him, or her. But, okay. Hands-on experience at the critical time, not systematic knowledge, is what counts in the making of a naturalist. Better to be an untutored savage for a while, not to know the names of or anatomical details. Better to spend long stretches of time just searching and dreaming.
I loved that.
I love that too. There's so much freedom in that. Like, you don't need to know all the science behind what you're immersed in. You just need to be in it.
Just be in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, because we as homeschool parents we might all be homeschool parents. You don't have to be a homeschool parent to be listening to this. But if you are a homeschool parent, you might feel this pressure. Like, I have to know my subject matter.
Yeah.
And I think the point here is it's not about knowing the subject matter. It's about discovering together.
Right.
Being in awe.
Right.
Together. I love that.
Maren, what stood out to you in chapter 3?
I really loved just the name of the chapter, The Way of Coyote.
Yeah.
When he refers to kind of being a sneaky coyote.
Yeah.
And it kind of just means, I think his point was you do not need to be, called a teacher in this formal way, and you impart knowledge to your children about nature, and it's very structured. It's kind of more just like you kind of sneak in learning. And I don't know, he said somewhere in here, and I'll have to look back at all my notes here. He said something about mentoring is more of, instead of direct teaching, it's more of a gentle nudge from behind, I think is what he said.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I thought that was great.
Right. So the first thing that nature mentors do is they spend a lot of time in nature and marvel at the natural world.
Right.
And he says, yes, I'm afraid this is going to mean spending regular time immersed in outdoor settings, which I thought was interesting. Good.
But it also did not say you have to know everything about what you're doing, which I loved. I just needed that. And just like the quote you read, I just feel like I am passionate about being mediocre in this and everything. Let's just be mediocre. It's okay, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay just to be where you're at.
Right.
But to get out there and do it.
Right. Just to have that excitement about being out there that will then rub off on your kids. So that is like the main thing you need to do.
Huge.
Yeah. And that's really freeing. That is really freeing, because I can do that.
Yeah, we can all do
and
that.
I am excited about nature. I just have to probably be a little bit more probably vocal about that and intentional about that.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. So he said also, and I loved this, mentors need to pay close attention to their mentees.
Yes.
And figure out, how do you learn best? What's exciting to you? Things like that. And that is what we're doing a lot as homeschool teachers.
We are.
Yeah.
I felt like this whole chapter could be like just about, I mean, you could take everything he's talking about with nature and use it as a homeschool tool also.
Right. Kind of like,
for anything.
It's like good teaching. Just good teaching.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, just trying to figure out from your kids, like, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What do they love doing outside? Like, really pay close attention to them. Exactly. And you're not coming in with, like, your agenda of what you want to do, but you're trying to learn from them about what's going to be best for them.
This is so important because, like, I think, especially when we go out and do nature hikes, and I see a trail that I want to do, it might be a loop or something.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're going to do this loop. Well, a lot of times halfway in or less, we all get derailed by something that's super exciting to my kids.
Yeah.
For example, one of my kids really likes to take, you may have seen on my Instagram stories.
Yep.
I have a kid who likes to throw things in water.
Yeah.
And yeah, he loves throwing things in water and watching the stream.
Yeah.
He likes to see the current of the water and where in that log, whatever he throws in shows the current.
Yep.
So, I might want to do a 2.5-mile loop and he wants to, throw logs into the river for an hour.
Right.
So I do have to change my plans.
Yeah, I have got to remember this more because I am regularly disappointed in our nature walks because I'm like, well, that really wasn't long enough, or that wasn't really strenuous enough, or we didn't really get much done that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I can tend to feel disappointed but really, we did what my kids wanted to do, and we were in nature. So
yeah.
That's actually a win.
He says the same thing that Julie Bogart says about writing, which is this should be fun. Yeah. It should be enjoyable. Yeah. If it's not enjoyable, just stop.
Right.
So I loved that. I thought that was good. And another thing that my kids love to do is make collections of things. So we spend a lot of time outside collecting rocks.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Feathers or things which is great. I just think it's so great, but I just have to wrap my mind around that. When we're in that moment, I have to be present at that time, picking up feathers or whatever it is and saying, this is what we're here for.
This is the experience. It's not what I was thinking we were going to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other one, which I thought was so good too, because this is a good life lesson or life strategy, which is nature mentors need to be active listeners and questioners.
Yes.
Encouraging children to tell their stories of nature encounters and being fully present to hear them. That's not always easy, but it's so important, not just with kids, but with everybody you meet.
Exactly.
To be listening to their stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
I was thinking about this, and I know he talks about in chapter 5 about the history of our world and our families and how they lived on the land and all this kind of stuff. And I think those kind of stories are so important too.
Yep.
And so I loved it. And actually it made me think my husband is actually better at this than I am, but Sean especially will tell kids the story of the day they were born. Or just a story about them when they were a little kid. And so I think those kind of stories are so important. Right. It's a narrative for their life. And then, I just love it.
Right.
And they get a sense of themselves and a sense of place and all that stuff just all kind of falls into place when stories are being told.
Right. Right. Yep. And he does talk about that too in later chapters. So we'll talk more about that then, I'm sure. But Yes. The power, the importance of stories.
But kids need to feel heard in that way too.
They do.
Them telling their story, so important.
Right. And they also, he talks about questioning and how we can be good questioners.
Yes.
And how we can ask certain types of questions to drag that story out of them in a way that we're listening actively.
Right.
And they don't want us. Nature mentors are not supposed to have all the answers. And we've said that before, but he's reiterating it. If they ask you, like, I think he told the story about his daughter seeing a bird.
Yes.
And she said, or I don't know if he said, or she said, what kind of bird is that?
Yep.
And he didn't give her an answer. And she said, well, I think it might be a heron.
Mm-hmm.
And then later when she found out it was a heron, she was so excited. That was a heron. Like, I was right.
Yep.
And he could have easily said, oh, it's a heron. And then, the discovery would have been over and they would have moved on.
Right.
But by not answering her question, it made it more memorable for her because she had to find the answer.
Okay, so I just want to add something to this because I thought about this while I was reading the book, and it was important to me as a kid that the person asking those questions didn't do it in I don't know what the word is, kind of a pandering way, or like a
like, I know the answer and I'm just asking
I know the answer. Let's see if you know it. I hated that
Yeah.
so much. And I actually still do. I don't like that as an adult.
No, I know.
So I feel like it has to be more like mutual curiosity.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you do know the answer,
Yeah.
just play along and be like, oh, I don't know. Or you don't have to lie, but you could be like, ask in a curious, like, I want to find out with you kind of way.
Yep.
Yeah, what I mean.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So, which I don't think he mentioned it here, but I think it's important.
Yes.
So he also talked in this chapter about how nature mentors take on 3 distinct roles, and we've talked about these and we will continue to talk about them. But the first one is the teacher, the person who conveys information. Second is the questioner, the one who always seeks to answer that, the query or pique the curiosity like we just talked about. And third is the trickster, which I think is why the chapter was named The Way of the Coyote. The trickster is the clever coyote who hides in plain sight, able to leverage a child's longing to stretch edges. So I just thought that was great. And this is what all homeschoolers, I think, we're all striving for this.
Right. And it's not easy. This is not easy. This is a very, very nuanced thing to do. But he says, the most effective mentors, I just have to read this. I'm sorry. This is a good part.
Please do. Yes.
The most effective mentors limit their role as a teacher, focusing instead on embodying both questioner and trickster. The great news here is that you don't need to be an expert. The bad news is that you'll often need to stifle the urge to offer answers and think instead about how you can extend the learning experience with a provocative question.
Exactly.
And then he says, and this is what I starred, but here's the most important thing. Nothing, absolutely nothing will spark your child's passion for nature more than your own embodied passion for the natural world.
Yes, I underlined that too.
Yeah.
So good. And this is what I need to remember every single day, because what gets in the way for me of sharing that passion with my kids is, all the daily tasks in my life.
Yeah.
And those things need to get done.
Yep.
Definitely. We need laundry. We need clean dishes.
Yep.
We need food. But are there ways that I can minimize those things or do them differently or more effectively or something, Or can we share those jobs or something so that we can move on to like what we really want to be doing?
Right.
Which is being outside.
Or for me, it's, can I not cram my schedule so full? I need to
right.
I need to intentionally put time in my schedule for this kind of stuff. Because otherwise it gets filled with something if I'm not intentional.
We will fill our time with many things if we aren't intentional about what's going in there.
Right.
So true. So true.
He also talked about a couple different ways that you can do simple things in nature with kids. There's this section called Sit, Wander, and Play. And so he talks about a wander.
I love that.
Talks a lot about what a wander is.
Yes, which I loved the word wander.
Me too.
Instead of the word hike or walk. Come on, kids, we're going on a walk.
Oh, yeah. It's much, I feel like it's different than hike. It's like wander. You're wandering around.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when I think of us going on a hike and then my son is like, well, I want to
wander.
I want to put things in the river for a half an hour. That's like the difference, I think, between a hike and a wander.
Hiking is like, we're going to start here and go to here, and then we'll be done.
Right.
A wander is like, oh, we've got this area to explore. And
it's more about the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So he says it consists of moving through a natural landscape without any specific agenda or purpose. You have an attitude of open curiosity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's especially tough for Sean when we go on family.
Really?
When we're outside, because he is such a goal-oriented person.
Yep.
That we actually went on a hike this weekend when we were up north, and there was this thing, it was called Devil's Kettle, which is basically it's a waterfall, and it goes into this big abyss kind of thing or whatever. And so it's a really cool natural phenomenon, actually. But he was so determined that we all get there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it was real tough.
Yeah. I can get like that too. I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. I have a goal, like I said, and I want to finish it. Otherwise it wasn't successful.
Well, I think there is a wisdom in that. I think it's good to, gently push. Like they said, nudge from behind, or give a push from behind instead of pulling from the front, I think is what he said. So it's just like a different way of looking at it, maybe.
Yeah.
If you can just push from behind.
Right.
A little bit. But the wander it feels a little more child-led too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so. And like he says, be honest, when was the last time you went out wandering with no place to go and nothing in particular to do? I don't think I've done that.
Ever. I don't know.
Since I was a kid. Maybe. And that would be amazing. I think my kids might be like, what are we doing? I don't know if I could call it that.
Well, and that's just probably because we have not trained our kids.
They're not used to it.
Yeah. They're like, what? You don't have any expectations of me?
I'm just going to walk around and look at stuff?
With no agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. I loved the next one, which is the sit spot.
Yeah. Me too.
My goodness. I want to do that.
Me too.
Now, I know he talked about you could just do it on your deck or your porch. Because he said the best sit spot is the one you use.
Yep.
So make it easy.
Make it easy. This is a place that you go to regularly. And you just sit.
Yes.
And basically use your 5 senses or whatever to take in nature. And notice things.
Yeah, notice things. There are questions he asks here. I mean, you could ask your own questions, but what's the most distant sound you can hear? Which direction is the breeze coming from? How does the air feel and the soil? How many different kinds of bird songs can you hear? Or, all those things. And then I think his point too was that over time, you're going to notice patterns. You'll recognize bird sounds. You'll recognize the animal tracks. You'll start becoming so familiar with your spot.
Right.
That it's like your place. It becomes part of you. So I loved that.
Right. Were you going to say that you would maybe not ideally want one in your yard? Is that what
I was thinking my yard would be great. I mean, it's fine, but I was thinking out farther away from my house even than right next to my house.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking our yard, because he's like you said, it's the one you use. The best sit spot is the one you use. And if I pick one like a few blocks away or at a nature preserve or something, we're not going to do it.
Right.
But you could have a couple different ones. You could have one in your yard and then one at the park by your house.
Sure.
Or whatever. But I was thinking if I bring this up to my kids, how
are they going to do that?
How are they going to find a spot? Are they going to fight over spots? Are they going to take this seriously?
Well, it could be all one spot. You just take turns using it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I was thinking they could bring a notebook and write down what they notice or draw what they notice.
He does talk about that, doesn't he? And about how you can do, or was that in a different part? Oh, that's in Story of the Day, which is the next section.
Well, he also did suggest a specific nature journal somewhere in here.
Yeah. But I was going to say he talked about photography. You could also do photography.
Yes.
Or writing a poem or something like that.
Yes. So, my kids love taking pictures.
Yeah.
They take pictures all the time, so I thought that was great. That'd be great. The only thing is what I would really love, and I think you have a photo printer. I was like, I think I need a photo printer.
Yeah.
So then we can just print out those pictures right away, put it in a nature journal, and
yes.
There. It's
done. When I was, listening to this chapter, I was dreaming about what I could do. And I was thinking, I could tell them, take a few pictures, but choose one that you want to put in your journal.
Yes.
Or you could draw something. But one of my kids complains about drawing. So, you could draw, or you could take a picture, or just do one thing in your sit spot.
Yeah.
So I could say, like, we're going to do our sit spot today for 20 minutes. We're just going to sit there, and I want you to notice something.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that would be an easy place to start.
Yeah, I think he was saying, like, he mentioned middle childhood, which I'm not totally sure what that meant.
But. I know. He said it's a good place to start with this is middle childhood. Well, I feel like he said that in contrast to, I don't know, young...
Well, and, he said one of the essential elements of sit spotting is stillness. So, when can your kids sit still for an extended period of time? Now, it might be different than how long they can sit listening to, a chapter in a book. Or it might be different. They might have a lot more attention, give a lot more attention to the sit spot than, like, sitting at the table and doing a worksheet.
Right.
This could be very much more engaging for them.
It could be.
All their senses. And
Who knows? Yep.
Or it could be the opposite.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I thought maybe we could just try with like 5 to 10 minutes to start, see how it goes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we should probably keep moving. We should keep moving.
I know.
This was a big chapter, though. I thought it was great.
This was a big chapter. Okay, so story of the day. He talks about... encouraging children to tell stories about their daily outdoor adventures.
Yes.
And he talked about kind of what I just mentioned. You could tell those stories with journaling. You could do it with art. You could do it with photography.
Right.
Those are all ways to...
And here's the nature journal. I just found it. Keeping a Nature Journal by Claire Walker Leslie and Charles Roth.
Yes.
So that's the one he suggested. I did look it up on Amazon. It looked great.
Yeah.
So I might get that. I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
But also a photo. I was trying to think, should I get these special nature journals, or should I get...
a blank book that you can put photos in, or...
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's not blank. I mean, it has prompts and stuff, I think.
No, I mean, or just a blank book.
Or just a blank one, yeah. I was trying to decide. Yeah.
He also talks about a nature table as a way to tell stories.
I loved that.
Yep. Which we had one of those in our old house and we don't anymore. But
yeah.
That's just a place to collect things that you find from outside and bring to your table.
We have, accidentally made those.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if we've ever tried to have a nature table, but we often have a nature table.
It can be just like a shelf on a bookshelf or something.
Right. And, actually what we often have is a basket, a nature basket. It's in the middle of our dining room table.
Yep.
And it's a basket that just collects all the stuff that
That's a good idea.
Our kids have found. Yeah. And they ruffle through that a lot.
I should do that because I have a basket that I want to use.
Oh, yeah.
But I never put fruit in it. So I was what?
That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
One other thing that I really loved when he was talking about the questioner is that when you ask questions to your kids when you're in nature, they should come in 3 different flavors: easy, medium, and hard. And he was saying most of your questions should be the easy questions.
Okay.
So ask them questions they already know, so they feel good about what they're doing and they feel smart and they know what they're doing. And then you can ask them, one or two, questions that kind of push the limits of their knowledge, and maybe they have to guess, or maybe they have to put some things together to figure it out or whatever. Right. And then maybe just one last question at the end that's maybe a hard question they might not know the answer to, but it's one of those they can just ponder.
Right.
Yep.
I love that too. And if you've read the book or if you get the book, he has a great story in there that I loved. an example story about that was really sweet. So.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Yep. All right. Well, I loved quickly what he said. So before you go into this, questioning or teacher mode, especially, is make sure that the soil is ready. Make sure the soil is ready. And I just thought that is the goal. That is my goal of life for my kids, to parenting.
Yep.
That the soil is ready. And that is lifelong work. I think it's like one sentence in this book that could occupy my mind and my efforts for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not just applying to nature.
Right.
You can apply it to everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, even for nature, I was like, well, it takes a lot of effort and thought to prepare the soil, just even for a nature, anything I want my kids to learn about nature. Yeah. If I want them to be prepared for that and ready to learn, it just takes a lot of thought and preparation, I think.
Yep.
It's not easy.
No.
So if we can just do that, that's huge.
Right. All right, let's move on to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is called Hitched to Everything, Place-Based Learning.
Yes.
That was a new term to me.
Me too.
Place-based learning. He said it's sometimes called, he gave some other terms for it, but he landed on place-based learning, more like environmental learning or nature.
So, he really got a little bit deep here. He started talking about how we're not merely connected to nature. Yep. We are interwoven with nature, living in constant exchange with the natural world through our skin, our breath, our food, the countless microbes on our body. And so, and then he talks about how it's so important for us to learn about this stuff I think he used the word whole to parts approach.
Okay.
Beginning with the big idea of all those things.
Right.
And then getting, filling in the gaps with information as needed. But then he said the one thing that really keeps us from doing that is school. School doesn't teach like that. Schools don't teach like that. It's the opposite. It's parts trying to put together into a whole thing, and it's very difficult to do it that way.
Right. Yeah, he had a lot of, negative things to say about schools, which I was not expecting. I don't know. I hadn't read the book, so prior to doing this, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. But he had a lot of, I guess, critiques about the way schools do things, which, I mean, I agree with some of it, and I think that we're in this system that makes it hard to do what you were just describing. One thing,
it is such a big system. The public school system, it's so big, it's hard to.
Yeah. He talked a little bit about how he learned science in school in a certain way. It was very like you're in a classroom with a textbook, and sometimes you're doing labs or you're learning names of different things and definitions and stuff, and it's very disconnected from nature.
Yeah, so like he was saying, when I was learning about the water cycle, I never got to go outside and
experience that.
Feel the rain or anything.
Yeah, you're learning it like on a chart or on a blackboard or whatever, but never like actually in person.
In real life, yeah.
And so it's interesting to me because I full disclosure, I'm a science teacher. That's my background. But I too think of science and nature as somewhat separate. Like kind of two related categories, but they're separate. But really, I feel like now that I read what he was saying, I felt like, no, really, they should be the same. They should kind of be the same thing. In the experiences that you're having in the classroom would be so much better if you could have them out in the natural world.
Right.
And you could be not as concerned about what like the exact names of things are, or the exact, like learning all this little detailed information.
Well, and I was actually trying to think, like, do all subjects come back to nature?
Oh.
In my mind, I was like, well, math could certainly go back to nature. I mean, so much of math. And I was thinking, well, he talked about how, being in nature really supports the arts,
Yeah.
I mean, all this stuff, it's all connected. It could be very easily connected.
Right.
In so many ways. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. He says that his early childhood passion for nature survived public school in spite of, rather than because of my classroom experiences.
I loved how he talked about Finland.
Oh yeah.
And the Finnish schools. I love reading articles about the Finnish schools because
me too.
They are so fascinating.
Oh yeah.
So fascinating.
Yeah.
They have these forest schools for like kindergartners.
Yeah.
They have a lot of forest schools. And so basically they say there's no bad weather. There's only bad clothing.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
They're just outside all day.
I know.
And the test scores are great.
Yep. Yeah. My husband is Finnish and my kids. So my kids are.
Yeah.
So, mostly or a lot Finnish. And so, so I love hearing about that too and sharing that stuff with Jeremy.
Yeah.
Because he still has cousins there who we are Facebook friends with. And their Facebook pictures are like, they're cold. I mean, it's snowy. Like they're like by the Arctic Circle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically always snowing there. Anyway, so it is fascinating that they're just outside.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And also they talked about not just younger kids, but in Finland, their teachers are kind of given credit like being a doctor.
Yeah, they're elevated. Their status is elevated.
Much.
Yeah.
And so they go through maybe a more rigorous process to become a teacher, and then they get a lot more freedom once they are teachers.
And they're paid well.
And it's all very much experiential learning and everything. I think the more you can make connections, the more you can learn, right? So if you can have those experiences connect you with you can connect with so many things once you have experiences. So I just loved that. It made me want to move to Finland.
Did it? Yeah. So he is saying, so this chapter is called Place-Based Learning. So he's saying place-based education uses the local community and the nature surrounding that local community and culture as the foundation for the entire curriculum.
Right.
So kind of like what you were saying, he says, whether the subject is math, language arts, science, social studies, the emphasis is on that place.
Right.
Which I thought was so interesting.
Yeah. And which, he did talk in the last chapter, in our last book talk about this, where we sometimes have made a disconnect. We aren't necessarily connected with the place we live in right now anymore.
Right.
I mean, in the past, that's been very important to us.
Right.
Because we needed to live off the land. We needed to grow our own crops and all the stuff.
Right.
We needed to know the weather and the climate and stuff. And now it's like less important to us. Other people do that for us.
Yep.
And so if we can get back to that and making those kind of connections, yeah. And then he talked, I think it was in this chapter, Angela, about food too. In the same kind of light. He talks about how if we can be more connected with the food we grow,
right,
we will, we'd certainly eat healthier and we would care more about the food we eat.
Right. It's a perfect lesson. It's a perfect way to learn through like growing your own food, but we don't do that.
Yeah, I know. So here's my question. I just think this is all, when I read this, I get so inspired, and I leave the chapter thinking, I want to do all this stuff. Yeah. I'm going to go buy a photo printer and start a garden. And then the next day I'm like, you know what? I'm really tired. I'm so tired. So I feel like I've already let myself down before I've even finished the book, Kind of.
Well, okay.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah. No. But I also think, because I think growing your own garden would be amazing. I'm not going to do that. I am not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't, you can't do it all. We talk about what we don't do, Maren. So there are things you just can't do.
Exactly.
And that's fine. But I think you just have to remember the first thing he said. The most basic thing you need is an excitement for nature.
Right.
So if you've got that, that's great. Just share your love of nature with the kids.
Right. I can do that. Thank you. I'm going to need reminders about that because I do get lofty plans.
Well, also, I was thinking it would be nice to have a little help from schools. Like, wouldn't it be nice to send your child to a school that could do like this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Then I might be, I don't know, I might be more interested in that. That would be exciting. But I feel like one of the reasons we homeschool is because I want to teach them some of that stuff that they don't get in school. And if I had to teach them that stuff and send them to school, that's just a lot of it's a lot going on.
No, it can't be so segmented like that either. It just all has to be part of their life, or otherwise it's just it can't be like, well, my nature life is at home and my non-nature life is over here.
Right.
That's just
right.
It's too hard. Nobody can do that.
Yeah. Okay. He also talked a lot about green schools, which was just like a movement to get, more green space at schools.
Yes.
Like, gardens and like nature play areas and things like that.
Yes.
So that would be amazing.
I mean, those are all things I feel like you said, if I actually found a school like this, I'd really consider sending my kids there.
Totally. I'd want to go there.
Yeah. I'd work there. Well, maybe not. I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, so seriously. So it seems amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, let's move on to chapter 5.
Yes. Sounds good.
We have to get moving. Okay, chapter 5 is called Mothers All the Way Down, Unearthing a Sense of Story.
Yes.
So this was a really, how would you describe it?
Well, I think it was less practical and more more
big picture.
Big picture. Why we care? Why should we care about the earth? That kind of stuff. And I think it was very good. I mean, it's good to read. But I also felt like the other stuff just kind of spoke to me a little more.
Right.
I guess. But.
Yeah, it was good for me to listen. Like I said, I'm listening to the audiobook, so it was good for me to listen. But there's less practical tips to take out of the chapter. But one thing he talked about is the power of story, which we did kind of talk about this already.
Right.
And but he really made a case for telling your children stories.
Yes.
And the oral tradition of stories and how we've lost that.
Yes.
And how we need to get back to that. And he said, one way to do that is just think of stories from your childhood, like maybe in nature, and tell them to your kids.
Yeah.
And that was so simple. And I wrote down a note. That is what Jeremy does with the kids. He's really good at that.
Aww.
He tells them about like when he was a kid and he would go hunting, like some crazy hunting story.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's great.
Or like the one time he had to, I don't know, do something in the woods. They're like exciting.
Yeah.
They're exciting stories. Yeah.
Yes,
So
definitely.
it made me think, what stories do I have that I could tell?
And they're not just stories. When you think about it, I mean, he probably just thinks, I'm just telling them a funny story.
I'm telling him something that happened to me.
Yeah, so powerful. It's so powerful on so many levels. And I think that's so great. I do think, I was thinking when I read this, that like when my parents told me stories of when they were kids, I think it was much easier for them to tell me stories about nature because they were probably outside a lot more than subsequent generations.
A lot of their just regular stories happen to be in nature.
Yes, they were outside. My mom rode horses. I mean,
oh wow,
all over. I mean, she has so many horse stories, and she just, I just think I don't have any of those. To share with my kids, but but we can tell those stories. I mean, I do have stories to tell, but also I can tell stories. My mom can tell stories still about her adventures on a horse, whatever. So, and I think the more we tell those stories, moving on, they can continue. They can continue. My kids can tell those stories about their grandma. to their grandkids someday or whatever.
Right.
So, but I did love the story about, I mean, I just love how he talked about every culture tells stories. They tell the stories about how the earth started. They tell stories about, you know, the sun and the moon and the stars and the animals. And they put it into perspective. And what I loved about that, and I think it was this chapter when he talked about, it is so important for us to think of science as a subject rather than an object. And so if we can think about it as a subject, it becomes more personal. It becomes real. We've personified things, and we're more connected.
Yeah. I love that. He also made a case for, you know, finding stories to read aloud that are about nature.
Yes.
Which
we can do that.
We can easily do that. Yes. Yeah. Or listening to audio stories. And one place I love to go for that is Sparkle Stories.
Oh my goodness.
They have so many great nature stories.
Yes. In fact, they have one especially about a sit spot.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they have a whole nature school series too.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah. I just brought that out again today. After I was listening to this,
good
I was
idea.
like, oh, gosh,
I'm going to bring that out.
I got to bring that out. We got to listen to those again. They are so good.
sad though. My kids are complaining when I bring out Sparkle Stories now because they're getting older.
Oh.
Or they've just heard them a lot.
Yeah. I think because we haven't done it in a while, my kids were excited to bring them out. They're like, oh, we remember this one.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
I don't know. I think they like it. And they might pretend like they're too old now, but I think they like it.
Oh,
actually,
yes.
And also, there are some stories for older kids, just as an aside. Like my 13-year-old still loves the Violet Crown Sparkle Stories. They're made for older kids. But I guess I'm talking about the nature-specific ones for the younger kids. Anyway,
so good. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
All right. I think we should stop there. That was a really great discussion.
Yep.
But we didn't want to take up more of your time.
Right. Well, I mean, the truth is, we could talk about this for a long time. We have to watch our time. We're trying to keep it to an hour, so or under or less.
Yep. I think every time we start an episode, we're like, this will just be a short one.
Right. We're just going to do a short one.
Never a short one.
Never. Nope.
There's so much to talk about.
Yeah. Let's move on to what we're loving this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Angela, what are you loving this week?
Okay. So I had another LTW picked out, and then I'm going to save that one because I was using my Trader Joe's Everything Bagel seasoning.
Yeah.
Do you use that?
I do.
And my daughter was like, Mom, is that going to be your LTW? Because I've been using it. I've been finding all the new ways to use it.
Oh, really?
It's going in everything this week. And I was like, this stuff is amazing. So, yes, it's my LTW this week.
It is good. What do you put it on?
Well, okay. So, I made kale chips because we have our CSA.
Yep. You got kale. You got to use it.
I know. And I was like, I'm just going to try these on there. And it was delicious. And then we get beets in our CSA, and nobody likes beets, no matter how much I try. So I've been eating them because, well, I mean, I'll eat them. Yeah. I don't love them. But then they come with these beautiful beet greens that, again, nobody will eat.
Yeah.
And so I made those into like chips, kind of like the kale chips.
Really?
And I put the Trader Joe's seasoning on it. People ate it.
Awesome.
It tasted a little beet-ish, but people still ate it because of the yummy seasoning. Mm-hmm. The other night we made foil packs because, we came home from camping early. And one of our meals was going to be foil packs over the campfire, which is just like potatoes, carrots, and meat and stuff in a pack.
Sure.
Put the seasoning on it. It was delicious.
Good.
I put it in if I'm making tuna and mayo.
Ooh.
Mixed
now
together.
That's a great idea.
Put it in there. Or egg salad with mayo.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in that.
There
anything. I guess anything you'd use salt for.
So, yep. Oh, that sounds so great.
Yeah.
It is to me. Is it ever a little too salty for you?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just put too much on.
Maybe a little too garlicky. Well, not too garlicky. I like it. I love it so much, but I do have to brush my teeth if I'm going anywhere.
Yes.
Afterwards. So,
yeah.
If you haven't tried that, you should definitely.
It's great. Yeah.
So, Maren, what are you loving this week?
So, I'm loving this new, I want to say beef jerky, but it's not really. It's called the new Primal Beef Thins.
I heard about these.
They're so good.
But what does it look like? A chip?
It looks like beef jerky, but smaller. I mean, it looks like it comes in a bag like beef jerky.
Okay.
But it's just thinner slices, so it's like crunchy.
Oh.
And it's easier to eat than beef jerky. I do not like pulling. You know, I know. It's so violent. Beef jerky, and I'm crunching, and I already have issues like with a tight jaw and stuff.
Oh yeah, me
I don't
too.
like to. Yeah.
So
the beef thins are just so much easier to eat than beef jerky, and they're crunchy, and I like crunchy things. So
it's like a chip, kind of.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I mean, I guess you could say that. I mean, it's still meat. It's a meat chip.
Yeah.
I guess.
So do you get that from Thrive Market?
Yeah. I got them from Thrive Market. Mm-hmm.
What's it called again? Right. I'm writing this down.
The new Primal Beef Thins.
The new Primal Beef Thins.
Yep.
Do they have different flavors?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a good question. But they've come out with a whole bunch of new things. I also got their new marinades, which I have not tried yet.
Okay.
But I'm very excited to try that this summer. Because my new plan this summer is I'm not using meal boxes, you know, like I had been, and just getting lots of good meat, good veggies, and eating those.
Yeah. So you need marinade.
So I need marinade. So
Are you going to grill?
Excited. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I should do that too.
Yeah. Easy.
I've been thinking, I was just thinking, Angela, you should make some marinades, but it's too much work.
New Primal has done it for you.
Nice.
Well, and, actually, to go back to our conversation about nature, I was thinking what I really need to do is do less of those things so I can be outside more with my kids.
Right.
So less cooking, more outside for the summer at least.
More enjoying life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, all right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. If you are interested in finding us on social media, you can. We are at Homeschool Unrefined on Facebook and Instagram. Mm-hmm. We also have a Facebook group. We'd love to have you join. It's called Unrefined Homeschoolers. You can just request to join, and then there's one question you have to answer. So make sure you do that, and then we'll let you in. And we have a website, which is homeschoolunrefined.com, where you can find links to everything that we talked about. And we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Homeschool Unrefined was created by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Thanks to Gambler's Daughter for providing the music for our show. You can find Gambler's Daughter at facebook.com/gamblersdaugghtermusic.